Welcome everybody to Big J's World. My name is Big J. Today we have Miss Priscilla. So if you want to introduce yourself, tell the people what you do on TikTok, do you promote indie authors, how long have you been reading, what books you like?
Boy, okay. Hey, everybody. My name is Priscilla. I am a Southern California native, born, raised, and still here. I am an avid reader who just recently became a BookToker this year. I actually was more of a lurker until the past few months. My friend Dan Fillion got me kind of invested a little bit more in the BookTok community and pushed me to start going live and start my own account. So here I am. I'm a teeny tiny BookToker, but I always say my group and we're small, but we're mighty. We try to make as much impact as possible. So what I do is I have a sort of a two-part thing. I try to create a community for readers and someplace that is inclusive, kind, supportive for readers and authors to come in to chat in the mornings or sometimes do reading and writing sprints a couple times a week at night. And we also have like our community group that we hang out in. So we're really just trying to sort of amplify that nice good side of book talk that we can draw more people in, people can fall into it. And then the other part of what I do is I actually have decided to support indie authors. I started beginning of May. I finally found some direction for my book talk. So I do free giveaways on my channel. And what I do is I don't accept donations or I don't ask for copies from the authors. I simply just purchase and I will find an author whose vibe, whose book matches what I love. And I will buy a copy for myself. I'll buy a copy for, a reader in the US. And usually I try to include my Canadian friends because I do have a lot of Canadian book talk friends. And I do giveaways for them and promote them. I allow them to come into my lives and talk about their books. And we're constantly sharing that around. So little by little, that's sort of created this trickle effect I've noticed in my other friends who also are starting to do lives and promote and read more indies. And I think that's super important, especially on BookTok or in the TikTok platform, because I'm a firm believer that indie authors are the pillars of our BookTok community. There's so many amazing authors with these like micro communities that accumulate these amazing readers and inspire new writers because their journey is so intimate. I've seen I think there's a couple people in our group who have already started writing their own book because they were exposed to the indie authors who were not gatekeeping any information. And so seeing that, it's just a snowball effect of good. So that's basically what I'm trying to do, right? So yeah, that's what I do with my channel. And honestly, I am the most casual person. I don't post enough. I do go live often, I feel like. So I like to go live, but I don't post enough really. And I'm not so much concerned about the numbers or the monetization as much as I am just trying to create a community and find what we call book besties and true book besties who want to read together, who can suggest books, who want to discuss reading or learn how to become a better reader. So that's kind of what I've been doing.
Dan, Dan. He has this book coming out. It should be out by the time I put this up, which is Galeborn, which he is a big fan of Wizard of Oz, which I've learned a lot from him by talking with him and didn't realize there's just more than one book out of the Wizard of Oz. So shocking.
Yeah.
So that's his passion. That's his baby project, and best of luck to him and selling his books and stuff. But what I want to know is what got you into reading? Have you been an avid reader since you were a kid, or was it something oh, there's this book craze going on? Let me try to hop on and see if it's something for me.
Okay, so I was an avid reader. I don't how do I put this? I do remember learning how to read. So I remember distinctly when I was like, oh gosh, probably 4. I remember books starting to click and being able to independently read them. And from that point on, I was like eating them. I had this voracious appetite for reading. Um, I think for me, and this may be a little bit personal, but for me, reading started out more as an escape to some extent. It was a joy and an escape. So the older I got, the more I used it as escapism from different parts or aspects of my life. And then at the same time, it was still a joy. Like I loved to read. I would read anything. At one point, my mom has pictures somewhere. I was reading the encyclopedia set because I was bored and I'd read everything else in the house I could get my hands on. So I just sat down. I think I was like 9, 10 years old, and I was just sitting down on the ground, going through all the pages of the encyclopedia set because I was that just wanted something to read. So that's kind of how I started out. I read all the way up through high school. I was constantly reading. I was that nerd kid who had a book in hand, who went to the library and checked out 50 books and would like read them all and take them back and get 50 more. Um, I did slow down more when I got into sports in high school, just because you're so busy, right? You have practices, games, things like that. But I had a love for it and a passion for it. I also read very fast or very quickly. So it helps me get through more books. And I've always been that way since I was a kid. And then I hit adulthood and I hit my 20s and I discovered friends and going out for a bit. And I remember even at the time though, I still was reading when I was always picking up books on my lunch um when I worked at Payless Shoe Store, my first job, and we were right
Oh,
next to a
that's
Target.
famous.
I know. And so I would always be buying a new book at Target. And that's how I first got into like back then I read a lot of like dark romance. um, and I was always just grabbing a new book and reading it because I could finally like just grab whatever I wanted as an adult, right? And then like I had a friend who said, "You've never read the Harry Potter books?" And I was like, "No, I was in my early 20s." And he loaned me the whole set. And I remember getting to read them in like a week. And I was so excited. I read the whole thing through and he was like shocked. And he was like, "Did you know that some of us had to wait years to be able to finish this series?" So I remember being like, "Oh, this is cool." So I was reading for a little bit. And then I got into a relationship that there just really was no room for it. And I'm
Right.
starting to realize when you're a reader and you are in a relationship, you need to be in a relationship that allows you to have space for the things you like, which includes your downtime and reading. And I really just got out of it kind of. And I tried picking it back up when I had my daughter because I was kind of not bored. I just didn't have a lot to do at night. And I remember trying to do that and I was so tired. And then I stopped. I hadn't read anything really. I tried going to the library and picking up books a couple of years ago and I was like, okay, maybe I just need like new books, right? And I just wasn't doing it. And then I read The September House by Carissa Orlando.
Mhm.
And I don't know what it was about that book. It hooked me. And suddenly I was like, I love reading. This reminds me why I love reading. And I went out and I bought a couple more books in the horror genre and I liked it. So then I went on Book Outlet and I went crazy and I bought like books, like 20 book orders, like at a time, right? And yeah, I just got back into it. What are we, 2026? So beginning of 2025, like about February or so, I got back into reading. So I've only been back at it for about a year, but I had extensive reading like time since I was little. If I didn't have a book in my hand, I was probably outdoors like running. So I used to sleep with books in my bed. So I've always had a passion for it. It's just,
Yeah.
you have seasons. And here I am.
There you are.
Here I am.
So you read that whole 6-book series of Harry Potter in a week.
Yeah. A little bit under. Yeah.
That's insane.
It
That
was
that
so good though. Like, how could I put it?
right.
down. I didn't have work that week, so no, I did have work that week. I read the series in a week, and then I will admit I went out and I got every single movie because they just released the last one that year.
Hmm.
And I went out and I rented every single movie and I watched them for like 4 days straight. So I experienced Harry
Wow.
Potter, like all of Harry Potter within 2 weeks
Hmm.
time. And it's wild, but it was just like incredible.
How fast do you read? Like, if you're listening to an audiobook, what's the speed that you're
Oh,
reading?
no. So audiobooks are different for me. I prefer to listen to them slower. So I won't go past
Oh.
a 1.3 speed. Past that, it can be a little bit harder for me to retain. And I would rather, usually when I'm listening to an audiobook, I'm doing something else physically. I can't just sit or lay there. So I have to be moving or engaged in something. So I do need to listen to those slower. When it comes to physical reading, I think I've just been telling I can do faster than this, but I usually try to average like 100 pages an hour or just, 100, 120 pages an hour. I can read quicker if I have to. But one thing I always tell people is you can read fast, yes, but if you are not retaining the important information in the story and you're missing it or you're having to ask questions or things like that, you're reading too fast. You have to
Hmm.
have a higher retention rate. And one thing people don't realize is some of the best speed readers in the world, their retention rate is so low. So just because they can process and read the words and finish it doesn't mean that they're going to remember everything. So once I read about that, I realized that reading fast is great, but I never want to reread a book that just because I read it too quickly. I want to be able to read at a pace where I can remember. And that's something I will always encourage readers. Read at the pace you
Hmm.
can remember. And if you can't remember what you're reading, or maybe like all of a sudden you're like, what just happened the last like 10 pages? You need to go back and reread it. You were either
Yeah.
distracted or you went too quickly and now you're stuck. So I usually try to average like 100 pages an hour just because that's a nice soft spot for me, but I can go faster. I haven't really timed myself to be honest in a while.
You should definitely time yourself to see how many pages you could actually read in an hour. Because I'm a slow reader if I don't have the audiobook. Like, if
Oh,
I'm
okay.
eyeball reading, like a book will literally take me about a month or a little bit more to finish.
Really? So let me ask you a question. When you are reading,
Mhm.
do you hear like your voice reading in your head to
No.
yourself as you're reading? Okay. So that's literally why it takes you longer and you need the audiobook because you haven't practiced that. And that's something that actually comes easier when you are like a major like kid reader. Sometimes I feel like but I hear my voice in my head when I read.
I make up voices while I'm reading without the
I
audiobook.
love it.
Like, if this is a female, I'm making sure it's like a female voice or a male
Yeah.
voice. But when I do the audiobook of the same one that I'm reading, it doesn't match up. Like, this doesn't make like it's not connecting with me. So I either do the audiobook or I don't.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
can't just do it halfway through and then read.
I
It
get it.
won't.
Yeah.
I'm about to do it from the beginning.
Interesting. Yeah,
Yeah.
I will one of these days pick like an average read, like something everybody else has, and I will try to time myself and let you know what came of that.
Right.
If I'm actually pushing, and if I can remember what I read, because that's key too. So
Yeah.
being a fast reader though, I will say a lot of people think it's a great thing because we go through a lot of books, right? We can get through so many books. I'm at 81 books for the year, right? Before I finish out any of the books and finish out by the end of the month. This
Yeah.
month I've only completed 11 so far, but I will probably bump that. I'm trying to hit 15 to 17. Um, but just because I read fast one of the issues is I run out of things to read easily. So I'm always having to buy or find books ahead of my reading, like appetite and speed. And sometimes there's this little part of me that watches people read like less books and sit and enjoy. And I'm just like, gosh, I wish I could read. I wish I could be you, right? Like I want to be that person.
Then an immersive read. Just sit there and just read.
I think
That's
I think I struggle with immersive reads. I've always struggled with immersive reads. I can either do one audio separate or physical separate. I've never been able to immersive read. I think I get ahead of everything too, no matter how
have
I
you
start racing the narrator. Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, I'm too competitive. I'm like, I could read faster than them.
I mean, I've found my sweet spot with audiobooks.
Mm,
When it comes to fantasy though, it has to be at a higher speed
really?
because I am one I'm trying to like fantasy. And I do to a point. To a point.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I like love the Fourth Wing series.
Uh-huh.
The Dire whichever series is that, the Dire and Fury Bound series.
You like the Dire Bound? Yeah. Uh Wolves of Ruin.
Yeah, Wolves of Ruin. So
Wolves of Ruin.
it's really like, you know, I'm getting into more fantasy. I like the banter, do not like the world building.
Okay. If you like banter, if you don't mind, I'll
Yeah,
make a rec. Have you read Blood of Hercules?
I have not.
So one of the funniest parts about that, or the fun parts of well, she's funny too. Fun parts about that book is her inner dialogue is like her inner banter with herself. I mean, carries that book so well. You don't really have a lot of world building. There's just a lot of things going on. And you're in her head a lot. And the internal thoughts are hilarious. She's funny, right? She's so funny. And it's very tragic and traumatic. And she's using humor, obviously, to deflect from her situation. But I think you would like that main character. I think you would like the banter in that and especially her internal dialogue. So
All right.
could be something for you to check out soon.
Blood of Hercules. Is it
Blood
just a
of Hercules.
standalone or is it a series?
No, it's actually going to be part of either, is it a trilogy or a series? There's two out already though. There's Blood and Bond. And you also like dark romance, right?
Starting like dark romance, and I
Then
wouldn't like figure that I would. But
yeah,
thank you very much.
you either like it or you don't. I feel like as readers, or you have like a middle ground. For me, I'm more on the middle ground now. I can take it or leave it. But since you're liking dark romance, there's some darker romance elements. They come out stronger in the second book. But if you like the first book, you'd probably like the second book. Again, those dark romance elements come out a lot stronger in the second one.
All
But
right.
it's a really cool book. Highly recommend. I think you would enjoy it.
I'll definitely check that out because I want to get into more fantasy because when it comes to like movies and TV shows, I'm all about it.
hmm
When it comes to books, I'm like, how fast could this Audible go? So I get to the bank.
You know, that's one thing though about fantasy. And I think like for me, I didn't read a ton of it, right? I read certain types of fantasy and certain authors. Like Tamara Pierce is hands down my favorite author from when I was a preteen and teenager and even an adult. I loved her I loved her Lioness Quartet. Gosh, what's the first one? Alana is the first book. And it was all about this girl who's becoming a knight and, in secret, and she has magic and like there's different elements. So it was definitely written for younger people. And I like grew into the series as well as like the spin-off series that she created from it. So I like stuff like that. I read Lord of the Rings when the movies were coming out. My mom told me my mom told all of us that we had to read Lord of the Rings to be able to watch the movies. And here goes Priscilla, plugging along, read all the books. My mom gave up on the boys reading them because she realized we would never, ever watch these movies if she waited on them. I was the reader. So I remember not liking it. And immediately, I mean, it wasn't terrible. It just wasn't my thing. I wasn't into high fantasy. I'm still not super into high fantasy. So that was what I associated with like more grown up fantasy, if that makes sense. And in my 20s, I did read some of the Game of Thrones books and enjoyed them. A lot of death, a lot of death in those,
Right.
but they were so interestingly crafted. I enjoyed them, and then I was like, I like fantasy movies. I like this or that. But it really took meeting Dan and his friends to start reading fantasy the way I've been reading it. So before, let's say March, I think I'd only known him for about a month in like April or so. So before March, I was just reading mostly horror. I did occasionally grab a fantasy book here and there, but I wasn't like actively seeking it. So I think it's also like surrounding yourself with people who are excited about something can help you decide if you're excited about it or figure out what you like. Cause I don't like everything they like. So that kind of helped. I had more recommendations coming in my door.
I was the same way. Funny enough, the first book I read was Fairy Tale by Stephen King.
Really?
And that was a fantasy / like horror book.
Yeah. And did you enjoy it?
I did. I read it from cover to cover. That's the only book that I read twice.
Really?
Yeah, the only one.
Okay, I'm gonna have to bump it on my TBR.
It's a he has to put in his hard elements and his score and whatever he needs to do. But he does it in such a way that you forget the book is actually horror because the way that he writes it, like it's about it's basically about a kid who loses his mom by a drunk driver. So it's a hit and run. So it's now only him and his dad who's a drunk. And he's doing okay in school and his buddy. And one day the old guy who lives like right around the corner or right next to him, he falls off a ladder. And then the kid goes and helps him. Going forward, the guy leaves him his house because he passes away, and then he finds that there's a tunnel in the shed that goes through this different world. That he doesn't know. And he leaves him his dog. The guy dies. He leaves him his house and his dog. And not knowing, there's a lot of stuff you'll learn on the way about
It sounds so cinematic.
Yeah. There's a lot more. I'm waiting for them to make a movie or a TV show. They said they were, but I don't think they are anymore. But there's so much going on in that story, which is a lot of self-growth. The main character, his dad, you learn more about the old guy. And it's just crazy once he goes down and goes to this different world.
That's so cool.
And there's a lot of like time that passes by that he doesn't realize. It just time works differently in that other world than it does in our.
Yeah. And you liked it so much you read it twice.
Read it twice. I eyeballed read it, and then I got the audiobook and read it again.
Nice. I love that. Yes, Stephen King, like he's amazing for that. Like he has a way of writing, and it's funny because I always say he's hit or miss, and you have to be in the mood for him, right?
Yep.
But he has a way of writing his books for screen. Like, I'm truly convinced they're not for us readers. They're to be able to put something on screen that is like elevated. And a lot of his movies, like look at The Shining or The Long Walk, oh, the book, amazing. I went in knowing what was going to happen and still came out crying. Like, it was so perfectly done and cast and everything. And he just has that way of like writing these books that create these like masterpiece or like significant movies or shows
Right.
that you're like
Hmm.
stuck on and you can't forget. So I think really like that's who he writes for. And then
Yeah.
if you happen to find a book that like touches you, and like, you know, or makes you feel like you can relate or even enjoy, like good for you because you found one of the few like that you may like and truly enjoy. So
Yeah.
I think people like don't understand like he is not just horror. He's like literally you're looking at like a cinematic masterpiece on paper, just waiting to be
Hmm.
like created.
I've also read Misery.
Oh, everybody loves Misery,
One
right?
one of my favorite movies of his is Misery. Kathy
You mentioned
Bates
that.
is the best psycho. If she could do it
She,
again,
yeah, she got those eyes too,
yeah,
and that smile, and she can
yeah,
play someone who like you want to just hug and like have them adopt you, or somebody you are scared out of your pants.
yep. And the book
So
is even darker than the movie. There's some things
really,
from the book that's not even in the movie.
oh, man,
You've watched it, right?
yes, but I haven't read the book.
Okay.
You
So
know what?
if you
You know what? I gotta add that to my TBR soon. You've mentioned it one too many times.
Misery, yes.
Misery. Hmm.
So if you remember from the movie where she has his like legs, she has a board between his legs.
Uh-huh.
That doesn't happen later on in the book. That happens earlier, and she purposely like breaks his legs.
Yeah, yeah.
So
That's
it's
it's
unhinged more
devious.
than the
It's
movie.
devious. You
Yeah.
know what? Which one of his uh that I okay, so I finally within the past year watched The Shining. I had never watched The Shining before. Um yeah, it was my first time watching The Shining. I watched it and I think I should preface this with I was probably underwhelmed a little bit because it's older, right? Like I don't mind older movies, but I think because I've been watching so many like more horror movies, like catching up because I was finally reading horror in the past year. So I felt more comfortable watching scary movies. I felt like it was very hyped. And so I was like, it's good, but it's not like, I didn't completely understand what about it was like so creepy, scary, whatever. But then I started listening to the book on audio and I was like, this is a fantastic book. So it's one of those ones where I actually like the book more than the movie. And because in the movie, like I was sitting there, my boyfriend was like, stop overthinking it. Cause I was like, okay, but why? He was like,
Yeah.
stop overthinking it. You're overthinking it. They could only do so much. So that one I definitely liked the book better. But then I watched Doctor Sleep, which is a more modern, right? Basically sequel, way down the road sequel to the first movie. Okay. And I loved that movie so much. I've watched it like 3 different times. I thought it was so well done. It was so perfectly creepy, everything. And I haven't read the book for that one yet, but I would like to see if it matches vibes because it was just so well done. So I think over the years, his books stay like they could stand on themselves, but realistically, like the movies have just gotten better because they're able to do more with what he's imagined, right?
Yes. But I have uh I love the movie It, the original, made
The
for
original, okay.
TV. Okay. They should have not made a remake.
Really? Because
I
I haven't
watch.
watched the original, so now I need to watch it.
You need to watch it. It's done.
Okay.
It's a. You'll look at it. It's an '80s movie. Off the
Yeah, I don't
bat,
mind that.
you'll
Don't
see.
mind that.
No, you'll notice that's an '80s movie. But you've watched chapter 1 and chapter 2 of it.
Yeah.
I I'm very like I'm really hit or miss on remakes, okay? You could either
Yeah.
make it its own, I'm fine with it, or you could like trash the whole thing.
Mhm.
They trashed the whole thing.
Was it too modern?
Way too modern.
Uh, the reason I'm asking is because I know it was written, a while back. It was made into the 80s movie version, right? And back then, clowns were scary in a different way, and now clowns are less scary, I feel like. So
Mhm.
I could see why they had to make it like him very modern scary, right? Pennywise. But I feel like from what I've seen from clips of the old movie, it's actually scarier looking to me because it looks so much more real, if that
Yep.
makes sense.
Yep.
So I will definitely tell my boyfriend maybe this weekend we can turn it on because he does love that.
It is obviously you see it's a made for TV movie. I think the
Yes.
movie is about 3 hours long,
Okay.
I
That's
think.
fine.
But so well made. It keeps you on your edge from like beginning to end.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Have you read the
No, I will not read the book. That book is over 1,000
book?
pages long.
It's
You are
so
nuts.
big, right?
No, no, I don't know what he was doing or what
Well,
he had his things earlier. So
I
that was
want
just
I want to read it, but I want to I'll show you and your viewers too. One of the things that someone had told me was, "Oh, use those little annotation tabs and mark off like chapters." So, um this when I started the ACOTAR series because I'm currently reading through it. I'm on the second book with a buddy read, right?
mhm,
And what we did was we decided let's instead of trying I think the bane of buddy read existence in my community or group that I'm part of is we can never stay at the same pace. It is way too hard. So I was like, let's do ACOTAR, but can everybody do 4 chapters a day? And everyone was like, the three of us were like, yeah, we can do that. So we've been doing 4 chapters a day. So what I do is, let me see if I have a tabbed off book for some chapters. We'll use Diabound as an example. So this one's
right,
2 chapters tabbed off. So what I do is I tab ahead. And I think for big books like A City of God and Monsters was like over 700 pages. That's like basically 2 books in one. It looked so daunting because it was so big. And we just tapped off our chapters and it made it so much easier because it takes a while, but you go through it. So the same thing with like an 1,000-page book. If you're ever like even slightly interested, but you're like, I can't sit down and just read that, tab it off. Like just section it out. It's also a great way to practice reading more than one book at once. I'm currently reading 6 and then I have my audiobook at the same time. And it's real easy for me because I just divide it up into pieces. So it don't ever be like, if you really want to read something, don't let the size like scare you. Just grab your annotation tabs, right? And just start marking off a couple chapters at a time. And if you get ahead, great. If you don't, great. But like, then like, okay, I'll have this done in 20 days and I'm not going to stress it.
right.
So I really think that's like the best thing that I could have started doing. And I keep telling people like, hey, make sure you like pace yourself with those big books. Like Alchemist, everybody wants to read it. People who have read it were like, wow, they read it because it's a huge book. Me, I want to try to see if I can read it in one day. But that's just me
No,
challenging myself. Don't let me do it, Jay. Be like, Priscilla, get your tabbies out. Let's go.
no, no, no. There's only been one book that I finished in a day, and it
Really?
was this one.
Good.
This is
Oh, Jay.
5
We're
hours
gonna
in audiobook.
you're gonna definitely be like, I'm never interviewing her again because you already know I DNF'd that.
Why? Why
Well, okay, but I think we've chatted about it briefly before. So there is
did
something about the way Nikki St. Crow writes that
yeah.
I cannot connect with. I want so badly to connect with her. However, I am going to try it again and push myself and read the whole Never King just for you. I've already committed to it at some point this year. It's going to be one of my
Now,
reads because you said to get further into it and then it'll get better.
did you eyeball read it or did you use Audible audiobook?
For that one, I was doing audiobooks. So this time I'm going to try physically reading it. I feel like that would be a way better approach. And then
Okay.
I did try. So for her West of Wicked book, I was like, okay, haven't read anything Oz, but everybody's hyping this. So I'm going to get into it. I didn't realize who she was because it had been so long since I tried her audiobook and failed. So I was like, well, I'll try it. And the first like chapter or two, I was like, wow, this is really, really good. Oh my gosh,
See?
I'm going to love this. And then it just went for me because she just launched into some part of the story and I was like, wait, what? Where are we? What are we doing? So I think it's just like her writing style maybe a little bit fast or she didn't include enough in it. And then it scared me, right? Because Dan was coming out with Galeborn and I hadn't beta read it yet. I hadn't gotten to read anything about it. And I was like a little bit afraid. I was like, I don't know anything about Oz and I'm going to get lost, right? And then thankfully his book helped me see like what it was that was missing in West of Wicked for me was she basically started out very descriptive, Kansas, you know, her main characters, like life, things like that. It was emotionally like connective and gripping. And then it just she gets to Oz and it completely fizzles out. And suddenly they're already here and they're already there. And there wasn't enough like of a transition into maybe this person doesn't know or hasn't read The Wonderful Wizard of Oz. Even seeing the movie, I was like lost, right? So
Mm.
it was just not enough there. I think it could have been something great if she was able to continue the tone of the first like couple chapters into the next few chapters. And I just was like, guys, I cannot do this. And I wasn't the only one who was struggling with it that loved the world of Oz. Like they were immediately like, this isn't teaching you anything. So don't, stop there. But now that I've read Galeborn and even the refined version, and I've also now read The Wonderful Wizard of Oz, I think it's just where it's lacking is she didn't have enough elements of Oz itself in the story. Kansas was relatable because Kansas is in the US. Oz, I had nothing to relate to and nothing was explained to me. We're just launching straight into dudes kind of spicy, So that's where I was like struggling a little bit. But I don't think she's a bad author. And I think like so many people love her and can connect with what she writes. For just some reason, like it's not gripping me. And
Right.
I'm sad. I'm so sad. I don't want to have an author that I can't connect with.
And which is fine. Like I told you earlier that Karen Slaughter is just one of those that I can't like read.
Yeah.
It doesn't like same thing with Nikki St. Crow. It doesn't flow with you like her writing style.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
I could literally read all of Frida's books, all of her books. I'll sit there and read it, even the ones that I really dislike. Teacher.
Mm.
So
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I can't. No, I finished it. I will probably never ever touch that book again. I'll
You
keep it.
wouldn't, yeah. And you also don't recommend it. I've noticed
No,
too.
I would say if you want something, if I'll tell you what if they said, hey, what do you think about the teacher? I'll tell them, well, it was written by Frida, not my favorite.
You
You
like
want
her
to go
style,
into
but you
it?
didn't like the
I didn't.
topic or context. Yeah.
No, because it really hits home. Wife is a teacher. It's
Yeah.
a high school teacher and a high school student.
It's too
Uh,
taboo.
very. And
Yeah.
then whoever didn't read it, too bad. I'm just going to spoil it for you. At the end,
Spoiler alert.
right? At the end, the wife was doing the same shit, which, like, oh, okay.
So they both
Were messing with students.
did they both get caught? That's how you find out.
No. Well,
Oh no.
the wife finds out about her, but the
Mhm.
husband never finds out about him. And the
Mm.
two people that the teachers were messing with are best friends and don't even know that this was happening.
She has like such a way of twisting things because like Ward D, and I won't spoil this because people should read it, but the last page, let me tell
Yep.
you, my eyes about fell out of my head. My jaw was like to the floor. I was just like, oh my God. Like it was just so good, right? I do have a couple more of her books on my shelf. I haven't done them yet. I just keep mood reading so much. But now that I have my July like buddy reads set, which I'm hoping to continue picking up more people in July and August and so on as I like announce specific reads that I'm gonna be reading through and people can join me for X amount of chapters a day. So we can just like do something together. I really feel like in between, I'm going to tuck in some of those like little things because I'm not a thriller reader. I actually don't really like thrillers. And I feel like it's just because we already talked about it. I feel like James Patterson really gave thrillers a bad name for me. um,
Yes.
so.
All right. So, all right, let me ask you this question then.
Sure.
Do you like true crime?
It depends on the type of true crime. But yes, overall, yes. I tend to like a little bit of the more like morbid stuff, like Maternal Instinct that just came out on Netflix. That one was wild. So I tend to like more of like the like murder mystery, but I don't like all the other stuff. It doesn't matter. It needs to have
Okay.
a real good, they should be behind bars.
Okay. So, Noelle Ely, if you heard of her.
Okay.
So it's IHLI is how you spell her last name.
It must be popular because she came right up on Amazon. Oh, I've seen her. I think Gray After Dark is on my
Yes.
list. And I've seen the Ask for Andrea.
Read Gray After Dark, read Ask for Andrea, and
Okay.
Run on Red. I wouldn't recommend such Quiet Girls because obviously you have a little, and it's all of her books is based on true events, but
Of
fictional.
course, you're like, I wouldn't recommend that. So now I'm like looking at it. Well,
Yeah.
let me actually go back. I'm a huge Criminal Minds fan.
Okay.
So like I've watched and seen it all. And child abductions, things like that. They do tug a little closer to home. Now that I have a daughter, I can read it a little more intensely. But yeah, these are great, especially Room for Rent too. I think that was on my list.
That one I need to read.
Okay. Gray After Dark, and they're on Kindle Unlimited too. Yeah, I will definitely. I've added this to my list. I think it's already on there, but okay. I got a thriller.
Yeah, if I'm not reading Frida, I'm reading Noelle. If I'm not reading Noelle, I'm reading Cher LaPena. If I'm not reading her, then I'm reading Jessie Garcia.
See, I wish like I could say like, oh, I read these specific authors all the time. I do have specific ones I recommend. My guilty pleasure though, I will say, and I know I was just like today on my live this morning, I was talking about James Patterson and like kind of accusing it of being like him or what he produces as like cookie cutter thrillers, things like that. However, my guilty pleasure is Darcy Coates. And she does have a lot of cookie cutter style haunted house books. However,
Right.
I do like a good haunted house. I just enjoy the way she writes. It's simplistic, slightly twisty, but otherwise really good, mostly predictable. And she's my guilty pleasure. So Darcy Coates, Simone St. James. But for the most part, I've noticed like I don't have dedicated authors that I read. If I like them, I will definitely, if they put their name on something and they've said this book was great, I enjoyed reading it, I'll be like, cool, I will check you out. Alma Katsu, if she says a book was good, if her name's on it, I don't care if she actually read it or not, I'm gonna go check it out. Right.
Right.
So there's just certain horror authors that I definitely lean toward their style. Christopher Golden. But there's like, when it comes to fantasy, I don't think I'm not like, ooh, everything Alex Astor wrote, or ooh, everything Rebecca Yarros wrote, right?
Mhm.
Or Sarah J. Maas. So I tend to like free range and roam there. But when it comes to the horror books, I will say, yeah, I tend to start looking for the same people because I'm like, give me that same feel. That's the first one.
There is just one. I think I try to read horror books. I do, and just one book just put me off so bad.
We chatted about this. Paul
Yeah,
Tremblay.
it's horror movie.
I
It
really,
put
I really want better for you. I really want better for you.
and I literally tried to read this book because if you grab the book, you're
Yeah,
reading it, and then parts of it, it's like written as a screenplay
yeah.
while they're doing it. And
Uh-huh.
I'm like, oh, it's written as a screenplay, which really caught my eye. Like, all right, this is different. Let me
Yeah,
go ahead and try to read it. Yeah. No.
no good, huh?
No.
I have
Not,
that on
not.
my shelf.
I mean, if you go ahead and read it, if you enjoy it, great.
Oh, okay. So Tremblay is like one of those ones where for me, I think it's hit or miss. And you really have to like know like he's not always going to be your cup of tea. But I already told you what you need to read, which is Dead Silence by S.A. Barnes. That's a
It's
good
on my
sci-fi
list.
space horror. It will redeem it a little bit. You'll be like, okay, cool. Like I could get some more creepy in. I'll try to find something else that's good that I got for you. I'll poke around in my red books and send you some pictures and be like, try these instead.
One book that I did like, I don't know if you'll consider it horror. It's more thriller than anything.
Mhm.
Is something pictures,
Uh,
hidden
uh,
pictures,
yes, I think I
hidden
have
pictures.
this one.
I loved it from
Jason, what's his face?
Rulak
Yeah,
or
something,
however you.
Recollect. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. Oh, supernatural. I love supernatural like thrillers. So I guess I do
so
like thrillers. They just have to be a little bit paranormal.
so good from
Yeah.
beginning to end, cover to cover. The reason that I liked it so much is that it's not your typical supernatural book. He actually
Mhm.
has pictures of what he described that the kid was drawing.
Oh,
And then when you go from these scribbly pictures to more like
I read
someone who's an
this.
artist. You did?
I just looked. I read it. Yeah. As soon as I was like, why does this sound so familiar? It's Little Teddy, and then the pictures, and then it actually is in the book.
Yeah.
Yeah, I read this. I really enjoyed this one. This was a good. I think you and I have like similar tastes when it comes to maybe like the scarier thrillers and stuff
Yeah.
like that. If you liked September House and Hidden Pictures, okay. Now I know
Do you
what
have
to look for you.
do you have the actual physical book or did you read it on Kindle or
um, did I read this
because
on Kindle? Let me check my list. So I scan all of my physical books into Libid, and Fun fact, guys, you should all be scanning your physical books. Look at me talking like this, like I'm talking to the chat. The reason, though, is you want a record of them in case something ever happens, flood, fire, things like that. So you have a record of what books you had. It looks like, did I have this one? No, I don't have the physical book. So maybe I need a shelf trophy.
Yes, because the physical book has extra pictures at the end, and it gives the credit to whoever drew it.
That they don't have in the Kindle version, you mean?
Exactly. There's extra pictures, there's extra drawings of the cover. So it's not just that one cover. There's different versions of it at the end of the book.
Okay. Yeah. You probably should check out, if you haven't, Riley Sager. Riley Sager is really good too.
Riley Sager is the one who did the House Across the Lake. Yeah, I hated it.
I don't know about that one. I think I would say, was it Lock Every Door? I'm trying to find the one. She has, was it Home Before Dark? I know I have a couple of hers. Home Before Dark, the Bainbury Hall. One was pretty good. That one's more of a paranormal thriller. Let's see. The other one is, have I read Lock Every Door? I don't think I've read Lock Every Door, but I do own it. But Home Before Dark you might like. That one's a little bit more creepy. So her stuff could be hit or miss to some extent, but I would say Home Before Dark is pretty good. Give a different one a try.
Yeah. Because I got the one that has like the train on the front of the book. I can't really remember what it was. Home Before Dark.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Oh, With a Vengeance, it looks like.
Yeah. With a Vengeance. Out of that one, I haven't started that one yet. So I was like, I'm trying to expand my thrillers as much as I can. Now taking a break from doing that and doing dark romance and other stuff.
I think you should also check out anything by Alma Katsu if you don't mind a little bit of historical basis. She does write some historical horror. And she has The Hunger, which is based on the Donner Party. So the Donner Party incident. And then she also has The Deep, which is based on Titanic. And then there is one more I haven't read yet. I can't remember the name of it, but it's based on the Japanese internment camps that they had here in the US during one of the world wars.
Wow.
So what she does is she basically takes a piece of history that's like well-known tragedy, I guess you could call it, and she takes creative liberties and she spins some sort of horror element into it. So it leaves you like, The Hunger left me, because it's obviously set in like this Western type period. They're on the trail, whatever. But there was this underlying like growing creepy feeling. And then you're also like seeing her take actual history and like historical basis for like how women were treated or how things went. And you're going from there. And at the very ending, like you're waiting for it. And then you find out like what happens, at least in her version of the book. And you're just like, how did she do that? So, you have to be okay with a little bit of a historical fiction. The same thing with the Deep. I read that one because I love anything Titanic based. So highly recommend Alma Katsu. It's a different type of read. But it is very interesting how she takes known history and gives you a completely different creepy spin on it.
All right.
Very suspenseful.
I definitely wrote those down. So how many books do you currently have at the moment?
That I own, like physical books?
Yeah. Physical books.
I think I was just looking at that. I haven't scanned in my new ones, so I'm pretty close to 300.
300?
Yeah. So I'm pretty close to 300. And I've only been collecting for just over a year.
Wow. How
Mhm.
many books do you buy a day?
Right? Imagine if we like did no, not a day, but at a time.
Yeah.
I think what was it in the month of May? I think I accumulated well over 50 bucks easily. I have like two giant stacks on my floor. Um, I tend to go through little like spurts of book buying. I
Hmm.
also like to utilize Book Outlet because I prefer, I've said this before, it's not that I'm a snob. I just didn't really get to own brand new books all the time as a kid. And I spent a lot of time. The thing is, like, the library is a beautiful place to be. And for me, though, who loves my books, like, my books are real to me. Like, they're adventures, they're like my friends, right? The hardest thing I ever had to do was take a good book and give it back. It was very like, I didn't realize how traumatizing that was to some extent for me until I had to do it. And so one of the reasons why I buy brand new books for myself is I was talking about it earlier. Like if I pick up, A Court of Mist and Fury, I want to be the first person who read this copy of A Court of Mist and Fury. I emboss it with my little like library Priscilla Calvin stamp. And I open it up and it's brand new and it's mine to love, to ruin, whatever, right? To read. And then someday when one of my kids picks it up or somebody else picks it up, I can kind of have the satisfaction of saying, I was the first person to read that book. I wasn't the 10th. I wasn't the 20th. I wasn't the 50th person to check it out. It was literally me. I got to live that adventure first. And it's a little bit selfish, but at the same time, it's also like one of those things where I'm learning I can take that space because I don't spend my money on other things.
Right.
So yeah. But I am accumulating. My goal is 1,000 bucks. I'd like
Right.
to own 1,000 bucks of my own books, not books I buy for my daughter. I don't count those. So she
Right.
also has a lot of books. But yeah, we're filling the shelves.
That's funny. So, I don't want to take up more of your time, but here's a question that I ask everybody. I know where I stand.
Yeah.
It's a fun question. I
Okay.
just want to see how many do I get. So, do you or do you not practice spines?
Do I say one more time?
Practice spines? Do you or do you
Oh,
not
I
practice
knew
spines?
you were going to ask me that. No, I honestly didn't realize like that was a
The thing.
thing.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if it's just because I never worry about it. And I was literally thinking, I was like, I wonder if he's going to ask me about cracking my spine as I'm like touching this book. No, I don't purposely crack my spine. So if they ever are cracked, it was an accident. I know some people do because it makes them more malleable, especially the bigger books. One of the things I tend to lean toward for bigger books though, is because I don't have like very big hands when I'm holding things. I like paperbacks, but I don't know. I just never, I need to watch somebody crack spines. I feel like I need to watch somebody
Oh,
do it to understand like the full process of how and why. And like, it's fascinating to me.
I mean, there's if it's cracked, it's well loved. I've now understand if a book is cracked, it is well loved
Uh-huh.
because that
Uh-huh.
person really loved the book and would reread it multiple times, and that's fine.
Mhm.
But if you purposely like just snap
Yeah.
fresh book out of the store, it hurts.
I feel like that's just like a preference thing, but I will tell you something I do sometimes that, and I've always done this with my own books, not library books or borrowed books. Something that I do that a lot of people will be up in arms when they watch this.
Yeah.
If I don't have a bookmark, I will absolutely dog ear a
No,
page.
no, come on, no, don't do
Yes,
that. No,
I have
fine,
always done that. He's like,
fine.
if I can, I
Oh,
do, but like if it was like a new book or this, that, I don't know why. Like I've never minded dog earing the pages. And I think it's because um I read a lot of classics, right? and like
Right.
older books and things like that. And sometimes in those books, when they describe people who read or they describe a book that was picked up, they'll talk about the dog-eared pages and how it was like well read and things like that. And I don't know if it's stuck with me at one point, but it has never bothered me to dog-ear a page. Now, would I dog-ear a sprayed edge? Probably no. I would just try to remember the page I was on. But with the plain books, like I'm not above doing it. I've elevated to bookmarks, but that's been something I've always done is dog ear my pages. So if I went and found like all my like preteen childhood books I still have boxed up somewhere, I'm sure you would see like all the pages have been bent at some point. It's a bad habit. I'm trying to
That
break it.
hurts.
I
If
bookmark everything now. I buy tons of bookmarks so I don't have to do it. But for a while there, that's all I did instead of bookmarking.
mm, I
But
will
I don't
find a
crack my
sticky
spine.
note. I will find a sticky note if I have like a empty McDonald's bag. I'll find the cleanest edge and tear it off and put it.
Tear off a piece of your shirt.
Yeah, literally anything.
Stick your
Oh man,
finger there and keep it. Yeah, it's one of my bad habits. So I'm not ashamed of it because I don't do it as much. It's kind of like nail biting, but you do go back to it every once in a while, and you can't help it. Yeah. So not a spine cracker, but I might have dogged a few years here.
I'll just forget that I heard that. Okay.
Yeah.
But
please
this
please
was,
still hang out with me.
of course, gonna be a little bit judgy, but of course.
Now I know when
But
you pop up. He's judging me.
I'll be like, she dog ears pages.
Then runs away. Thanks, Big J.
You know.
That's funny.
But this was super fun.
Yeah, it was. Thank you.
So if you want to tell people where they could find you, so they can follow you.
Yeah, of course. I really don't utilize other social media platforms, so you can find me on TikTok. My handle is at Scylla_Calvin, or I go by Priscilla on there. I don't add anything fancy to my name because it's the wheel. Why try to reinvent it, right?
Right.
But you can find me on TikTok. I'm sure Big J will link me, and I would love to make new bookish friends. I am always, well, not always, but most of the time, I am on TikTok Live Monday through Friday at 7:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time until I start work at 9 a.m. So that's about what is that Eastern?
7 a.m. is about 10 a.m.
So it's like
here.
10:30 a.m. Eastern. I'm hanging out, and then twice a week I try to do some reading sprints where I just create a quiet space for people to come in. Once I've been friends with you for a bit, you're welcome to come up and sit in a box and chat and read with me. It's always a good time. Just keep in mind, guys, I am a teeny tiny BookToker, so that's why I sit on my bed because I don't have a lot of space. So it's basically like hanging out like we're in high school,
Right.
sitting on my bed, chatting, everything. I do have my daughter who hangs out as well as one of our dogs, Carrot. So he's like our little BookTok mascot over here.
Oh, Carrot.
Oh, Carrot. Yes. But he's a sweet boy. He's a baby still.
Yeah.
He already is into his books, I feel like. Wishful thinking. But yeah, you can find me on TikTok. I'm always hanging out or hanging out in other people's lives.
You gotta get him a little book toy, a toy that looks like a book, so he could.
Oh yeah, I gotta start getting him some bookish stuff.
Right.
He leaves my books alone now, but he's been going after my bookmark tassels lately. So I'm like, okay. He will fall asleep on a good book if it's like the right height as a pillow, which is very sweet. So I do have to get him something bookish. We'll see. But yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Definitely, it's been a pleasure.
Yeah, absolutely. Totally a pleasure too on my end. So I appreciate you.